On today's episode of Tackle Talk, I'm going to answer some more of your guys' questions. Hello folks, and welcome back to the very second Q&A here on Tackle Talk. And today I'm going to be answering some questions. As you may know, I announced in a video, my last video, that I was going to answer some questions. So, without further ado, let's get into them. What was the largest fish you ever caught, and how much did it weigh? Well, the largest fish I ever caught was a catfish. I caught it up at Lake Erie off the pier, and that fish weighed 16 pounds. So, that's probably the largest fish I've ever caught. As far as bass go, my largest bass I ever caught, it's been a while. It was probably 5 or 6 years ago. I caught a really nice fish, and I thought it was a 5-pounder at the time. I didn't actually weigh it, but after thinking about it more, and I saw pictures of fish that were actually 5 pounds. I was like, my bass was a lot bigger than that. So I'm guessing it was probably between 7 and 6 pounds in that general area. So that is the largest bass I've ever caught. What is your favorite lure to use? Man, I don't really have a favorite lure, I don't think. There are lures that I use more than others, and I would say probably the lure I use the most is a swim jig. That's kind of my go-to. But man, if I could break it down to 3 baits, probably be swim jig, wacky rig, and topwater. I'm sorry, I don't really have a favorite lure. What is the best beginner bait caster, and what are the best lures to use for dark water? So I would recommend, if you're gonna start with a bait caster, I would get an Abu Garcia Black Max. It's about 50 bucks. That's gonna get you a really nice bait caster for the money. That's what I'm currently using now because my other bait caster croaked and I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So I got a Black Max. So far it's working very well for me. So I'd recommend you get one of those. They are great reels. As far as lures for dark water, you're probably gonna wanna go with something like a spinnerbait that's got thump and it's got flash. You know, spoons, crankbaits with lots of rattles, you know, and lots of flash like that. You know, a noisy topwater bait like a buzz bait would work very well. And as far as plastics go, you're probably gonna want something that's black or really flashy. Next question, will you do a walleye video or vid? / love your channel. Thank you again for loving the channel. I really appreciate that. Am I gonna do another walleye video? Because I did one before. If you haven't seen that, I'll put a link up there. But will I do another one? Yes, I'm hopefully going to do another one very soon. I have a trip planned to Lake Erie, and I'm not making any promises because I might not be able to film that trip, but I will try and get some more walleye fishing videos up because I really love fishing for walleye. Brendan, what is the best way to hook live bait? I have seen people hook them through the lips, but if the fish strikes the bait head on, wouldn't it be hard to set the hook? Great question. The way I usually hook live bait is through the head. And as far as the fish hitting the bait head on, I would think that if the hook was here and the fish hit it head on, it would knock enough slack in the line to be able to get the hook in there. I've never personally had trouble with setting the hook on a fish that had live bait hooked through the head. So, next question. How do you like to fish for panfish? There's a lot of different ways of fishing for panfish. I'd say probably my favorite way would be either jigging or bobber fishing. I love those two ways, you know, going out deep and jigging for perch or throwing a bobber rig to the brush for crappie. Those are two of my favorite ways to catch panfish. Next question, what do you use to catch walleye? The rig I've had the most success on, I would say, catching walleye is the Lindy rig. Basically, it's just a weight and then a hook with a night crawler. That's what I've used extensively. It has caught me quite a bit of walleye. I also use, you know, like crankbaits like the shad wrap. The wrapless shad wrap works really well. Next question, what is your favorite rod and reel combo to fish with? I would say probably my favorite rod and reel combo would be the Abu Garcia Silver Max on a medium action rod. That was a combo I got years ago, and it lasted me a long time, and I caught a ton of fish on it. That's probably my favorite combo to use. Bigfoot in the background at 12.00. Okay, we'll see once. No, I'm not seeing it. I don't know what, like 12 minutes or 12, I think it's 12 minutes. I clicked on the little link you put there. I don't see it. Sorry, I don't see Bigfoot. Although I do believe. How would you find largemouth bass in rivers? Okay, great question again. I would probably approach it the same way I approach every fishing situation. I look for where the bass are gonna be. Again, if you fish bass long enough, you know what types of cover and what types of structure they hang around. And usually the same cover and structure applies to a river, although it can be a little different. But I would look for those areas that I know a bass would love to hang out in, and then I would concentrate my efforts there. You need to try biospawn lures. Okay. How would you fish a chatterbait? Well, there's a couple main ways you would fish a chatterbait. The most common way would be to throw it out and crank it in. You could also stroke it off the bottom, kind of like a jig. There's just, get creative. You could probably fish it any way you wanted to. You can burn it fast, you can jig it, you can rip it, you can do all that kind of stuff. It's one of those baits that you can pretty much do whatever you want with it. Alright, last question. How would you single out and target larger bass amongst the smaller ones in a small pond? This is a problem that I've had where, you know, there's a good healthy population of fish and you know there's one or two fish in there that are really big, but you got a ton of small fish. A couple things I would do. I would look for the most prestigious cover. What this means is a big bass is going to be dominant in an area. He's going to have the best spots because he's the big boy and he rules the area. So if you see a really good looking piece of structure, chances are there'll be a big fish under there, because if you were a bass and you could push your weight around, you would get the best spots. So I would look for the best, choicest cover, and then I would throw big lures at that cover. And that is how I would fish for them. So guys, thank you very much for sending me your questions. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comment section of this video and I will answer them in an upcoming Q&A. Thanks for watching, and as always, this is Brendan Miller signing out.